and ladies and gentlemen, warmly welcome and Aiboan from the heritage city Anuradhapura Mihintale. So, as introduced by Anurudhi, I'm attached to the Department of Tourism and Hospitality Management, Faculty of Management Studies, Rajarat University of Sri Lanka. So I have been invited by Ms. Naomi to conduct this short session, rather an introductory session on the NVivo use of the NVivo software for qualitative data analysis. And I must say that this is also kind of a complicated software, and you need to. And this is, I'm just going to introduce you because we have just 1.5 hours to complete this session. And if you need to get the comprehensive knowledge of this particular of the software, you need to go through at least a 2 days, 2 full day session on qualitative data analysis. So let me share my presentation right now. Right, I hope you can see it, and I hope I'm audible well enough. Right.
Yes, sir.
So the qualitative data analysis using NVivo software. Let's try to talk about the NVivo workspace and how to import different data sources, and even to identify what type of data that we can use in the NVivo workspace, and maybe a little bit of the content analysis, thematic analysis, and the grounded theory, and how we can get the support of these different analytical methods when it comes to the NVivo. And also audio, video, and image analysis. There are some key functions or key advantages of the NVivo software, because you can use any type of data in the NVivo software, unlike any other research software in the world. You can use different forms and types of the data, and even some web-based information. Let's try to have a quick look at each of these components. And we'll also I will also show you how to do a literature review with the NVivo, and also how to, I will try to share and review an NVivo research project, and some of my projects are available with the Mendeley data. You can visit the Mendeley data and type my name, and you can download some of the NVivo projects of my present works and some of my past works. So when it comes to the qualitative research paradigm or the qualitative research landscape, most of us are lagged behind, right? Particularly in the South Asian context, because I've been lecturing in different universities in the South Asian countries, particularly how to use this particular software and different qualitative research methodologies, except for China. But in most other cases, we are lagged behind. But when it comes to the Pacific countries, like the Australia's and the New Zealand's and some European countries and the American countries, North and both South, the Canada, USA, mainly, there's a bigger trend towards this among the senior researchers, that they're moving towards the qualitative research. There are many reasons, and again, there are many reasons why the qualitative research in Sri Lankan contexts are lagged behind. It is basically, well, yes, when I was doing my undergraduate and my master's, we were not taught about the qualitative research, just an introduction. Okay, we have this type of a thing. You can use the descriptive statistics again to do the qualitative to do a proper qualitative research, right? We never heard the term of the content analysis or the thematic analysis, neither about the grounded theory, phenomenology, interpretivism. No, they were out of our scope, right? So now we have a great opportunity to make ourselves well aware of this methodology and to feed the young academics, our young generation. Excuse me, my WhatsApp is, yeah, I need to shut it down. Yeah, right. So we must make our contribution towards making our next generation better and bolder when it comes to the qualitative research. And again, since I have experience with some index journals as an editorial board member, we are timely. We get to read the management reports of some big publishers, including the Elsevier's and the Sage journals and the Springers. and the percentage of the qualitative research being published by the academia is again still relatively low. And again, the journals, many top quality, the A stars and A grade journals, SCCI or the Scopus Index journals are still encourage more and more researchers to publish the quantitative works, but there's a light from the top journals accepting the qualitative research. The main reason is that our researchers are not thorough in the methodologies and the interpretations and how to prove the reliability and the validity issues. Dissertations and the PhD research proposals and sometimes the defenses. Yes, they are they're using the mixed methodologies, but when we really ask some complex questions, okay, where did you reach the saturation? Why did you stop your interview at 50 or maybe 8, right, or maybe 16? They kind of they get themselves stuck cross-coding, right? Well, the people stay answerless, they keep quiet, and it shows our lack of knowledge, right? It is all over in the academia, right? Even in my institution, yes, it is happening. So whenever I'm making my lectures at the PhD courses, including the Jayawardenapura University or the PIM or the Columbus, right, I always try to encourage the students to go after the qualitative research, at least a part of their PhD or the master's thesis, because the qualitative research enable and help us to explore new things and new data, maybe giving some implications to develop new theories which are highly accepted by the top index journals. And again, in the management now, since we all belongs to the management discipline, I must say that in the management, we tend to ignore this type of questions. What has happened, why it has happened, and so what? Let it be the marketing, let it be the HR. We always try to quantify the human emotions and the feelings and the marketing approaches and the why the products fail. Basically, we do not question how our customers tasted the product. We do not question about the learning environment and the physical comfort about it. We always try to give them some limited answers, right, and get the and try to quantify it with the correlations and the regression and coming same result problem at the same institution. So we need to really we need to take this into serious consideration, and we need to answer the questions like what has happened, why it hasn't happened, and so what. And in marketing, we know, in marketing widely, we understand that the consumer is a kind of it's a black box. We cannot read it. So how can you quantify it? Yes, so qualitative approaches are important. So I'm not going to talk much about the theoretical or the introductory part of the qualitative research software directly after like 1 minute. And in another key feature of the qualitative research is that say I give you, I spread each and every one of you some SPSS data sets, right? Well cleaned, no externalities, nothing. And I ask you to perform maybe some correlation analysis of the non-alphas or the validity, reliability tests. And most probably, yes, like 90%, 99% of you will get the same answer if the data set is clean and if you're using the, if you're transcripts among you, and I ask you to perform some content analysis or the thematic analysis manual, right? No, you're not going to get the same thing. So remember that in the qualitative research, we be the feature of the data set as important, whereas another important, right? So it is subjective. The findings are subjective, and therefore we cannot generalize into the population. No, what we can do is in qualitative research, you can generalize the finding into the theory. generalization into the population, but into the theory. So the qualitative research should be theory driven all the time. There has to be a kind of a significant contribution making to the theory using the qualitative research. And again, you need to justify your research methodology and your choices, why you selected this particular sample, and why this particular time of the year, why this particular geographic area, right? And the duration of the interview, better you to justify, and the focus group discussions, what type of themes you forwarded, and when did you stop it? All these things you need to justify, because they also help you to develop the confidentiality among your reviewers, among your examiners. And you always have to be unbiased and stay closer to the data all the time. And when talking about the staying closer to the data in the qualitative research, we have the technique called data immersion. In the data immersion, you dive into, you plunge into the data set, to the pool of the data, so you get to see what it is. You will get to feel what the data is trying to speak about, right? So it is important in qualitative research. So we always recommend the researchers to read the transcript maybe 2 times, 3 times before they go into the analysis, because after reading 2 times only, you will get to feel, okay, what the data is about. Right. So when doing so, the softwares are important. Traditionally, conventionally, we collected like maybe 10, 20 transcripts, and each transcript will come in maybe 10 pages. So 10 pages into 10 transcripts, like 100 pages, and you get to read that 100 pages like 2 times. Isn't it boring? Yes, it is very boring, and sometimes it is hard, right? And again, when it comes to the literature reviews, yes, unlike the quantitative research, in qualitative research, you have to refer to more publications. You have to refer to more publications, maybe a couple of dozens in a good journal article, to write a good journal article. So how are you going to do that? And it is boring again. It is time consuming. You don't get the time to read them, and you are distracted with this and that, and you don't know where you have placed them, where you have located them, and you need to do the highlighting and the underlining to identify the catchy phrases or the references. Well, it is hard. So and again, remember that in qualitative data, we always try to illustrate on or shed light on certain social phenomena, social situations. So just the interview transcriptions will not be sufficient. So you need to have the recordings, you need to have the photographs, you need to have the videos, you need, okay, maybe about this situation, there are some newspaper articles, there are some TripAdvisor data. So there's a pool of data, different types of data, and there has to be a common platform to maintain this type of data. So NVivo provides that platform, and that is why the NVivo has become the most cited research software in the qualitative world. And also NVivo has sold well over 6 million licenses so far, right? Unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, to my understanding, we have around 40 licenses across the country. Even at the Jayawardenapura, I don't know, maybe less than 10 they have in the faculties, right? And only a couple of universities are having the NVivo software. So the software packages basically help us to organize our data, right? Store them, categorize them. Actually, some researchers I have heard saying, okay, Manoj, NVivo is a data management software, isn't it? No, it is wrong. It is not about the data management. And the data management is a tiny fracture of the software. The main advantage comes with the analysis, with its strong coding function. It's with its strong coding functions, I must repeat, because in the qualitative research, we need to do the coding as much as possible. What goes where, into what, and how to combine these different schools of thoughts together, with what backgrounds, with what theoretical context. All these things can be easily done with the support of the NVivo software. So how will it help you to search, organize, categorize, and interpret the textual and the visual data, and also help you to visualize the relationship among the data as well. And I must say that it is not, the NVivo is not the God. It is not only the NVivo we are having in qualitative data analysis arena, but also we have different softwares like the Lecturements. I have some experience with the Lecturements. It's a cool software, but yet I prefer NVivo, and Lecturements is a web-based software. We also have the ROST, we have the FSQC. FSQC is rather a kind of a software that that stands in between comparative analysis. And there are many more other softwares that help you to perform your analysis. Some are free and some are expensive, and NVivo, not to mention that it is one of the most expensive qualitative research softwares that we have seen in the recent past. And with the change of the dollar rate, I think it has gone up to 350,000, I think, right? Earlier it was like 200,000 before the crisis, so it must be at least 350,000 perpetual license per user, single user. So and again, okay, now here it is important that NVivo does not analyze the qualitative data for the researcher. People think that after importing or after feeding the data into the software, it will do the analysis, it will show me the codes, it will show me the relationships, and it will show me which theory it could possibly relate to. No, there's no such thing. So this is just a software. This is not artificial intelligence, and you have to do the analysis by yourself, right? And you have to make your own coding. You have to decide which phrase goes to which code, which sentence goes to which code, and which child codes need to be or can be categorized and put into a parental code, right? So there are different coding structures. We have the different hierarchies, right? You need to do everything, and the NVivo is helping you out. And according to Scopus, NVivo has got 157% of citations more than any other qualitative data analysis solutions. And 6 million users across the globe, available in 28 languages for transcriptions. Well, it is not available in single language because we have like 40 licenses around the country. And again, why NVivo? Allows you to classify, sort, and arrange many types of non-numerical data such as notes, videos, audios, recordings, Word documents, etc. And it helps to examine the relationship between the data, and it provides an organized storage file system. Yes, you can. Well, I haven't come to the what we say, the limit of the NVivo workspace. There was one time I uploaded like 50 or more than that, like 5 or 6 dozens of books, big books, into the NVivo. I have uploaded more than 500 journal articles. Yeah, more than 500 journal articles into the NVivo software, but still it worked fine, just fine, right? So it is a heavy software, and it is capable of handling some heavy data. And even with the 500 research articles and 50 big books, it just performed all the analysis that I wanted to without any significant delay. But make sure to close any other browsers or the software which might consume your RAM. And it also helps to analyze your data to determine the relationships and the theme. And you can visualize your project and the draw models and the chart, the conceptual maps, project maps, right? Say, whatever comes to your mind, you can actually, in most of my research, even before going out to, before concluding my research problem, I read some, okay, yes, I get some inputs from the literature, and I go to the mind map option of the NVivo. Then I try to put my thoughts here and there, and I try to visualize the possible relationship in between these particular points. It is important, right? And how I can reach them. I make kind of a mind map. I take a printout and I paste it in front of my working desk, right? Then I know which route I should be following. So such functions are also available with the NVivo. And it helps the researcher to be closer to the data. Actually, when I was reading for my PhD, we were given separate offices with all the equipment and the computers and the data. And on my days, I had only my bottle of water and maybe some little snack and my computer. So my professor was so surprised when he get to see me first. Manoj, don't you work? I said, yes, sir, I do work. So where are your books? Where are your journals? Where are your notes? He was he kept asking, right? And sir, I am using NVivo. I keep on storing everything in here, right? And later on I convinced, and thereafter he didn't bother me. And it is easy. You can use all your digital documents, books, e-documents, e-books, right, in the NVivo. So you stay very close to the data, right? You have everything at hand, unlike you don't have to shuffle through different books and the journals. Okay, where did I keep it? Well, no, you don't need even the computer's internal storage system. You don't have to use it. You just have to upload it, but make sure to back up everything. So the NVivo has such a function. And when talking about the NVivo, there are different key terms that we have to use, like including the sources. I'm going to tell you like 5 or 6 different key terms. Number one is the sources. The sources could be the research materials, including the documents, PDFs, data sets, audio, video, pictures, etc. We have also the codes. The codes are basically the containers of your coding, or say we have in qualitative research. Even earlier I said one of the main thing that we have to do when it comes to the analysis is identifying the coding of the key phrases, key sentences, key paragraphs which are relevant to your research, right? So after identifying some key phrases, catchy phrases, relevant clauses, you need to copy them. And actually we are not copying, we just select, we drag and drop into a kind of a I bought some different plastic balls to her in 6 different colors, like 100 or 200 some balls, and she's really happy. And one day I noted that she's she's going through all the plastic balls, the toy balls she had, and she was separating the balls according to its color, the yellow balls and the green balls and the blue balls and the orange balls separately. And then I made a small cardboard box, right, and in different colors. I pasted the color of these plastic balls in front of I wrapped it around, right, with the use of the colored A4, and I gave these boxes to her. And then she was like smart enough to take the yellow plastic balls and put them into the yellow box, right, and the orange plastic balls into the orange box, and the blue plastic balls into the blue plastic balls into the blue cardboard box, right? So that is the coding process, right? You go through the literature, you go through the interview transcripts, and you find some important things. And then the process of coding is that you try to combine the related clauses, related beautiful codes that can be further analyzed. And thereafter, we come to the coding. I told you the process of coding, and then the cases are there. The cases are containers for your coding that represent your unit of observation. Could be people, could be places, organizations, and the artifacts, right? Maybe some companies, right? Or people in the sense, yes, your respondents, it could be, or maybe some incidents, right? They could be your cases. We also use memos in NVivo, right? Remember the memos, when we are doing the when you are doing a qualitative research, you always come across with different, sometimes some ideas will start sparking in your head. You will get some new idea, and you will feel, okay, I should do this, I should do that, and I think this thing relates to that theory, and this is against the other theory, and this is similar to what Peter said, this is different to what Bronkovich said, right? Like that. So whenever you get something, you can write them down, and you can upload the same memo into the software itself. And during the analysis, during the discussion, you can combine them, right? And then you will it will help you to generate a more comprehensive or make a more comprehensive analysis, right? So this is how the NVivo plus NVivo 12 plus the NVivo 12 and 12 plus, and next year they are going to introduce the NVivo 13, right? And this is kind of a pre-launch sale. I just inquired from the NVivo. It is about 285,000, the pre-launch thing. If you like, you can buy it before 30th November, and there's a kind of a offer there. If you buy this pre-launch software, it will automatically they will automatically upgrade it into NVivo 14, right? Up to you, you can visit the official site. So this is how it will look, the NVivo 12 Plus. And if you're using the NVivo 12 version 2, and the workstation might look slightly different. Now here we can simply open the blank project and start uploading the data. We have the sample project, and there are to look into in the sample project, you can see some already the customized project for you. It comes by default with when you purchase the NVivo software, and it has they have done all the analysis for you to refer to. And we also have the automated inside sample project, and it will take you through a guided tour in a kind of a project. And so basically you click on the blank, and then the new project will come, and you have to decide which destination. You need to save all the conventional stuff in handling research software. And this is the welcome screen. Basically, it might change slightly from version to version. Actually, this is the 12, the first version, 12.2. I said there's a 12.2 version as well. And even if you're new to the NVivo, you can open this and you can go through the quick start setup, and it will give you the some idea how you need to do the coding and how to store the data, how to import the data, so on and so forth. So in this project, it is totally blank and there's nothing in it. And there are some inbuilt videos, audios, some instructions about how to use the software. You can go through them and make yourself aware of the software. Let's try to review an NVivo project as well. So this is now here I have just opened a project that I have completed. You can see the first part is a ribbon in the top. In the top of the screen, you can see the ribbon, and ribbon contains all the commands. Here, there are all the commands that you really need to perform when you're doing an analysis or even importing the data. And then you can see the navigation view. The navigation view will help you to go through the project. Now, in files, you can store all the external data, including your transcripts, your research, maybe the journal articles, research articles, or the videos, audios, recordings, photos, everything, the files, externals, and then the memos, whatever comes to you. And if you find some relationship halfway through, you can make a memo and make a note there. And here comes the notes. I think the 12.2, the name is code instead of node, right? But the icon remains same. So nodes and under nodes, you can make the small nodes, right? These are the containers, and here you can see the files and the references, right? Number of citations, or the codes that I have done. So then this is the navigation. That's why I said it is the software will keep you closer to the data, because here you save all the data and you can see the nodes, you can see the cases and the maps, right? So it is easy. You don't have to shuffle through or go through all your books and the documents, or the physical documents. Everything is here. You just have to with one click, all the data will be accessible at your fingertip. And then we have the list view. Here you can see the list view, and we make the codes here, right? And you can, and once you double click on any of the codes, here I have selected this, whatever this code. Once you double click, you can see the data. Actually, it will not come automatically. You need to code them into, right? You need to go to the files, you need to read them carefully and identify whatever the important things, and then drag and drop into these particular codes. And again, when it comes to the hierarchy, you need to be really careful to put the correct child into the correct parent. Because whether you're following the content analysis or the thematic analysis, or let it be the grounded theory, the order of that you make in the nodes is very much important. Otherwise, all your effort will be in vain. So this is list view, and thereafter we have the detail view, right? In the detail view, here you can see I have double click on this, and then you will get to see you will get to read whatever the stuff in it, detail view. And then we come to the data sources, what you can really upload into the data. Right, first you can upload, yes, the Word documents possible, and the rich text format files you can upload. You can upload books, you can upload journal articles, magazine articles, whatsoever the secondary literature in PDF format. You can upload the encapture. Sometimes now we have the netnography, some new research methods, right? It evolved from the ethnography. We have the netnography. In netnography, we talk about how our netizens means another new word that came with the internet. Citizen, netizen, right? So the people, those who are using the internet are known as netizens. So we can observe how the netizens behave in the internet. You can download their data using this special feature of the encapture. And this is the icon of the encapture. There's a small plugin. You have to add it into your Google Chrome, and then it will help you to download the web articles, web comments, right? Not the Facebook data. I haven't tried the Facebook data, but TripAdvisor, yes, and the web articles, yes, some of the PDF, newspapers, yes, everything can be captured through the encapture. And then we have the photos, yes, the JPEG images you can, and the bitmap images you can upload into the software. You can also upload the recordings, the audio files here you can see, and the video files also can be uploaded into the software, right? And then some of the sources in the NVivo, the Word documents, and the doc and the docs files. And again, after uploading the document, you will be able to edit them, right? If you see, okay, some parts are missing, maybe he said, but my transcribing has been wrong, okay, you do not go back to your original document. Go to PDF, yes, audios, yes, movie files or the videos, and the web pages, survey data, spreadsheet format like Excel, yes, you can upload, you can work on that. And then we come to the setting up the codes. The codes has to be hierarchical, I told you, but remember, we are not going to make the hierarchy from bottom to top, right? So remember, back in the school or maybe in the university, when you're making, the hierarchical charts, or say the organizational hierarchy, we start from the managing director, come to the CEO, then go to the director board, and go to whatever the general managers, all blah blah, right down the hierarchy. But here in the qualitative research, we have a bottom-up approach. You have to start from the operational level employees, and then you come to the managerial, the assistant managers, and then the managers. Like that, you have to do the coding, otherwise you are wrong, right? So we actually, there is a way that you make the top-down method if you're following the content analysis, and if you're so sure about what the expectations of your data, right, and what the data is going to talk about, right, then you can use the top-down method. Unless otherwise, and if you're not sure about the data, what the data is going to say, and your possible findings, if you're not sure, you have to use the bottom-up approach. And you create codes as you read. Excuse me. You create codes as you read your sources. If you are using a grounded theory approach, the bottom-up approach, I said, and you can code from your main codes to create more specified codes. Sometimes you understand that there are lots of information in this particular code, and that can be further subdivided. Yes, you can make small codes or the child codes under the parental code, and you can customize them as well. So it is super easy to make the codes, right? You just go to the workstation, right click, and make the codes, and under that you can make many. So this is the hierarchy. So this is what I said, when you're using the bottom-up approach, you start maybe from here or maybe from here, and then you combine the related things together and give it a name, a parental, right? And then we have the master parents, like that. And what to code, that's an important question I always come across. If some things in your literature papers, or maybe in your transcripts, or maybe in your observational notes, if they are being repeated, yes, you need to code that. And if surprises, you need to code. And if they state explicit facts or the statements, you need to code. And if they're similar to a research work you have read before, you need to code. And if it reminds you of a theory or a concept, you need to code. And if it intuitive, maybe as seasoned researchers, you will understand that, yes, this is related to this and that, and something related to a theory. Okay. And I think, okay, I feel, this is the way we should be doing. Okay, this is an important segment or important piece of data. You feel that with your experience, with your testing knowledge, and then you need to code that. So when you are coding your transcriptions, actually there's again, there's an argument among the qualitative research experts using of the NVivo. One school says that the themes are emerging through the NVivo analysis, and some are saying, no, we have to make the themes, right? Actually, my personal idea, my observation is that the themes are not emerging. Themes are not emerging unless you make it. So how to make it? You have to make it according to your research objective. And we are in our way to reach our research objective. So you need to have a kind of a pre-plan how it should be and how well I'm going to present my data, with what context, with what quotations, right? So you need to have a kind of a mind map, right? Not the NVivo mind map, but right here, and how you are going to code it, and then it will be kind of easy for you. And sometimes maybe the first 1 or 2 rounds you will feel, okay, I have wasted my time. Yes, possible, it's quite possible, right? And you might you all of a sudden you will feel that, okay, I have wasted 1 week of my works, 2 weeks of my works by coding some unnecessary data. That is true, and it has happened to me many times when I was studying the NVivo, right? Because I believe by that time, okay, the themes are emerging. So blindly I was coding and combining the child codes and making parents. And then I identified that, okay, my research problem, which was approved, is one thing, and what I have found at hand is another thing. Well, that could be a different research question, but as long as your initial research proposal and the research objectives are been well accepted, or if it is funded, well, you cannot present something else, right? So you have to be kind of careful when it comes to the analysis. So key considerations in your coding process is, number one, your objective, right? And the transcriptions should be free of errors. Sometimes there could be now basically in Sri Lankan context, we conduct our interviews in Sinhalese and then we transcribe it back to English, right? And we need to be really careful about that process, and we need to make sure that the translation is free of errors. Translation is free of errors, and in most cases, I have seen the researchers kind of not manipulating, but they self-destroy themselves by wrong translations, right? So we actually nowadays we are using the back translation. Say you conduct the thing in English, in Sinhala medium, right? And you have the recording and you translate or transcribe it into English, then you generate a transcript, and then the back translation is that maybe yourself or you ask someone else back translation, and then you are going to compare the original transcription and the other transcription that you just came through, right? So there are some methods that we use in qualitative. This is just one method. There are many more methods that we can use in qualitative research to increase the reliability and the validity of our work. So, and the other thing is that we tend to see what we want to see, right? Even the undergraduates, they try to do this for a long time, right? And even the postgraduate students, masters, especially those who are coming from the industry, they think, okay, so I have worked 10 years, 20 years in the industry, maybe the apparel, and I exactly know what they do during their leisure time. I exactly know the reasons behind their absenteeism, or the reason behind their production process, of the efficiency, number of pieces coming out. Yes, so if you wear some such glasses, right? So that's a problem. That's a problem, because you are tend to see what you want to see, right? So we need to stay out of such prejudices, right? And keep an open mind when we are doing the analysis. And it is also important that you use the well-trained coders if you are not doing the analysis. I have done a lot of coding for my professor during his research project works, our team project works, and sometimes weeks and the months. But before I touched the data, he did a kind of a one-day workshop to like 5 of us and giving us the starting from the research problem, what he really wanted to do, and how he collected the data and how it came and transcribing process and what is expected out of these things, right? So we need to train our coders if you're going to get some second or third hands support in your work. We also need to do the cross-coding. It's another method to increase the reliability of the data. So instead, only you doing the coding, you can ask your colleagues, your peers to do the coding, right? Oh, sorry. You do the coding first, you do the coding first, and then you invite your peers and colleagues to do the coding, and with the objective, you brief them the objective, and then you get the coding tables at hand, you get them printed. Then you compare, you check whether the parental codes, both are they similar or are they different, and the child codes are the categories that you have developed, open codes, focus codes, are they same or different, and what's the level of difference? Are they drastically vary or are they significantly similar? If they're significantly similar, wow, it's a green light to go. But if they're different, you need to be careful. Perhaps you need to introduce a third coder into your work, right? A third coder. So that is the cross coding. So the 4 steps in the coding start, we have the data immersion, right? Assume this is your transcription. You read this couple of times, we call it the data immersion, and then you do the coding, you identify the key things, the catchy things, right? So there will be lots and lots of codes here, like we call it the open coding. There will be definitely in any of the research works, there will be any level of the research work, there will be minimum 500 codes. If it is less than minimum 500, I will definitely read. I will not definitely read the analysis or the discussion part of the students. No, if then they have play something else, they have done something else. There has to be lots of coding, and when you have lots of coding, we can assure that student has gone through this particular project really carefully, and he or she has identified what is whatever the key and important and emanating themes that emerging from the transcript, right? So there will be like maybe minimum 500 or going up to some thousands of the codes, which will help us to do the categories. Here we go, right? Whatever the related open codes will be coded together, will be put together. We call it the category development or the focus codes. So this is open coding or the focus code. We call it the category development. So once we develop the categories, you can combine the categories together and call it a theme. Here we come to the theme. Usually in a qualitative research, especially if you are following the content analysis, you stop right here. You just create the categories and you stop right here, right? There are occasions, there are reasons why you're using the content analysis and thematic analysis. That's a separate subject to talk about, right? But you need to make a decision before you go in for the coding, whether you're going to follow the content analysis or the thematic analysis, right? So if they're related, you can combine. If they're not related, you have to leave them alone. But in the thematic analysis, basically it is recommended for a researcher to have it. I mean, not recommended, but it is okay to you'll be more comfortable to work around maybe 3 to 5 themes. But if it is like 6, the reviewers and your examiners will ask, why 6? Don't you think it's too much? And then they will look at your the hierarchy table, the coding table. We call it the coding spectrum. Then they will say, no, you should have combined these things together to bring down the number of themes. So we have to be careful with that as well. So according to Green, so this is the method introduced by Green, and he said each and every step should be backed by the theory. Because even earlier I told you, in qualitative research, we need to have some theoretical light upon which that we can confidently do our analysis. So always advise your students, potential students, even yourself, you're doing a qualitative research, select maybe one particular theory or couple of theories, right? Then you will get the idea how it should be going. And yeah, and then we have another function in the NVivo is the query function. The query function, the NVivo queries to find the patterns based on coding, check for coding consistency among the team members, and review your progress. We can conduct like 4 different queries: text search query, word frequency query, matrix coding query, and the coding query. There are 4 main functions, and here you can see where you can do the coding. Actually, say, now, this is a study that I have done about the Beach Boys in Bentota area, right? So here I have downloaded maybe 11 different journal articles, and in my research, I identified that okay, they exhibit some distinct sexual orientations with the foreign tourists, and I wanted to relate their behavior with the previous literature. So what I did was, instead of reading, I uploaded all my related work into the NVivo, and then I used the text search query with the word sex in the search box, and then I hit run query, and here we have lots of references, which means the occurrences of the term sex here, right? So then I can simply go into these particular destinations and identify how, at what context or where it has in NVivo software. Here you can see the output, and we actually in any of these findings can be obtained as a report, Excel document. Here the word frequency query will help you to identify the most number of occurrences, right? How many times this particular word has been. It will also give you some indication of what the data are talking about, importantly. Right. Now, in this particular case, I have uploaded 11 different articles about the Beach Boys, and then I wanted to conduct the word frequency query. My options open, so any word has an equal chance of getting selected into my top-up list. So here are the findings. The mostly used word is sex. Number 2, tourists. Number 3, sexual. Number 4, women. Number 5, tourism, and the list goes. Now, this will give us some idea about our respondents and their behavior with the tourists, right? Because in order to identify that, you need to just double click and go into the occasions where the term sex has been used, but it will give you some indication, some light, some ideas. Okay, how this word has been used and where it has been used, etc. and etc. We can also generate a kind of a word cloud diagram using the NVivo software, and this can also be exported as a JPEG image, and this will be very nice when you are doing a presentation, maybe in a symposium or conference, to show your analysis. Right. We also have the classifications option, that mainly the 2 classifications, source classifications and the case classifications option. The classifications will help you to record the data of its belongingness. Say if you are if you collect if there are like 10 number of respondents join with your interviews, you can use the maybe case classification to identify their religion or demographic profile, demographic information, their religion, their education, their sex, their income, all the job, etc. So we have that option. We also have the source classification, especially if you're using, you can develop a reference list, using the NVivo, right? You can also maybe, if you are doing a research about the artifacts or the war memorials in in the northern part of the country, you can use the source classification to nicely classify it and present it in a more presentable way in your thesis or in your journal article. The source and the case classification, that option is also available here. And then I told you about the maps, creation of the map. The mind map helps you to organize your thoughts, and the project map help you to visualize your work with the relationships, and the concept map conceptualize your arguments. Here you can see a kind of a map that we generated through the NVivo software, and we can directly use this in the journal article, dissertation, or maybe in your presentation, right? This will show the key themes. These are the 4 key themes, right? And thereafter you can see the key categories, but under categories, you will get to see more open codes. I will show that later as well. And there are different methods to visualize your data, right? If like maybe 5 to 6 options are available. So whatever most appropriate you can use to visualize your data. It is also fun to learn that you can do some correlation coefficient with the NVivo software, although it is a qualitative research software. Yes, it happens. How it happens? Here we can see now. This is a word game. We play a word game with the NVivo, and sometimes one particular key theme could be attributed to more than one particular code, which means one code could appear in the economy node, in the development node, or maybe in the community change node, right? So then we try to show the relationship or the correlations in between these codes. But I haven't seen in the NVivo research landscape anyone using the correlation coefficient, but remember that function is available. So it can be used, to my understanding, if your codes have similar patterns, kind of similar themes, right? And if the repetitions are very high, yes, this will allow you to generate some statistical inferences, right? Then you come to the import. First, you need to import the literature, the books, and journal articles, basically. And this will help you to, if you do your literature review with the NVivo, you can identify the themes, concepts, and arguments very easily. We can use the text search query that I earlier spoke about. We can use the word frequency statistics, the classifications, etc. Right here, some examples of how I use the NVivo for my analysis, the literature reviews, sorry, right? And now, even in the literature review, we have in a dissertation, basically, you can have different sections for your literature review. Maybe theories, related concepts, discussions, maybe developments, arguments. You can have different categories, right? So what you have to do is you open your your literature source, and you read it, and whenever you come across with a kind of a new node, new theme, right, you make a node, right? You copy, you select, you drag and drop this into the node property, right? So like that, you can build your literature review, and later you can take them one by one and start reading. Start discussing about it. I'll come to the some practical examples little later, right? So this is a study that we published with the Tourism Review Journal. It's a SSCI journal, Q1 journal. The study is based on an integrative literature review, which primarily used the Web of Science and the Scopus databases to locate the articles discussing or applying the tourist gaze, which is my pet theory, and its derivative conceptualization. We use the keyword search to identify the relevant papers, and we use the NVivo 12 software for the analysis. I will share these papers later, right? And yeah, you can also use the and in qualitative research, observations is one of the key data collection methods. You can visit maybe a beach, maybe a tourist destination, or maybe a shop, or maybe the restaurant, to see the behavior of the people, the casual dining behavior of the diners in the Colombo restaurants, right? Then you can keep on observing well with the you have to approve obtain the consent beforehand, and thereafter you write them down, right? And this is a study, that nice study that we did with some students in Sri Lanka. We forwarded some questions to the students. Here their names, right? Anyone tell you about the actually this is about social experience. So this student look at the right side and he said, no eye contact is maintained with the group members, right? So, and so this is the observation. So not the direct answers that we maintain the direct answers separately, but we really wanted to observe their behavior through observations, and we video recorded everything. And in the video here you can see from the 5th minute and 32 second to the 5th minute and 38 second, right? When a question was asked, he kept quiet for 6 minutes, and this is what he did, right? Doing this and that, looking into others, right? Not without looking at the lecturer, so on and so forth, right? Observations can be used, and after that we can use the photographic analysis, right? This is one of my friends who is working mainly at a beach. I'm using the photo with the permission. You can do the photographic analysis, especially in the landscape studies, or maybe if you are interested about maybe the soil erosion, maybe the land use pattern or the land exploitation pattern by the beach hotels, or maybe the urban space whatsoever, right? You can take some good photos and you can analyze the key features of it, and thereafter you can identify the region and you can write the content and you can relate into your discussion. Such things are also available. We can also use the NVivo for the audio analysis. And now this is a method that only the experienced researchers should use. For the students, I send them through the conventional traditional way. They have to go to the field, do the interview, record them, come back to the office, do the transcribing, and that transcription will be uploaded and analyzed. That's the hard way. However, if you have the recording, you can directly upload the recording and do the analysis, skipping the transcribing process. But it is not recommended if you are new to the software and if you are new to the qualitative research landscape, because why you tend to, I told you earlier, you tend to see what you want to see, right? So you might miss most of the things. So you need to now in this case, even I if I upload the recordings and I listen to it at least carefully, I listen to it 2 times, right? And only during the 3rd time I start doing the coding. I start doing the coding, and maybe I will listen it for the 4th time and start doing the coding, and I check whether the codes are correct or wrong. We also can do the video analysis. You can upload the videos and you can play it out, and then you can identify what is important and what point, right? You can get the time span. You can even in both these cases, the photographic analysis, audio analysis, and the video analysis, you can export this particular table as an Excel sheet and report in your dissertation, and people are using that method as well, right? So here I come to a paper of mine published with tourism management perspective, kind of an again an A journal, SSCI top indexed, and where we used the thematic analysis. We started with the free codes and we made like 438 free codes here, and then we combined them together and we created 8 focus codes and made 3 overarching themes. Now I'm going to share that particular research article with you using the Zoom chat box. Just give me a second. I'm just searching for it. It's been uploaded, it delivered, and I'm going to share another couple of papers. Please download them and look at the methodology part, and then we can discuss about it. Sorry, I have been sending it to Anuruddhika Jadil. Anuruddhika, please share it with others.
Sure, sir.
Please share it now.
Okay, sir.
And then I'm also sharing one of my most recent works. So all these papers were done with the support of the NVivo software, and all are published with the top index journals, all are SSCI journals. Right, and the other advantage that I observed in the in the publications is that if you're using this relatively novel research software, this is not a novel software, it's a relatively novel one, well, the acceptability of your papers goes high, because the journals like to have different types of papers, right, that have used different methods, right? So you will get the opportunity of publishing your work with some good high quality, high impact journals if you're using a method like this. So I invite you to read the methodology parts of these papers, and then we can discuss a bit about it, right? And yeah, before that I'll also talk a little bit about the encapture. I told you now we have the ethnographic concept, the methodology, whereas you can identify the netizens' behavior in the internet. So you can download the web content and put them into the analysis, right? So you can use the encapture. And we have done a study about the importance of crisis communication, the Express Pearl and Sri Lanka tourism, and what really went wrong when it comes to the crisis communication. We used only the encapture option for the analysis, for the data collection and analysis. Yes, right. And finally, I will talk a little bit about the reliability and the validity issues of the how to overcome the reliability and the validity issues of the qualitative research using the NVivo. You can use the cross-coding, that is number one. Now here again, back in my tourism management perspective article, you can see the coding table. We also call it the coding. Yeah, the other name I just forgot it. Right, you can also use the frequencies here. You can show statistically how significant each of these codes are, right? And why, and what is the most emanating theme, but most significant one with the percentages, right? That is one way that you can increase the reliability and the validity. And you can use the triangulation. I'm sure you know about the method triangulation, data triangulation, theory triangulation, researcher triangulation, all these methods. So they're also important when it comes to the to ensure the reliability and the validity of the qualitative research papers. Quantification of the qualitative data is important, and you need, in the discussion, importantly, you need to present your findings in comparative forms. What happened in Sri Lanka, what happened in India, what happened in Bali, Indonesia, right? So how Sri Lankan case is different from Bali, how Sri Lankan case is similar to Florida's, right? You need to present your discussion in such an angle, right? And you need to justify your method. Why this particular population? Why this sample? Why this methodology? Why this method? And why did you stop at the 18th interview, right? And importantly, you need to make your data available with a DOI. There are so many free DOIs. I can highly recommend the Mendeley data, right? They are a very good database. So whenever I'm making my submissions to the editor-in-chiefs of any of the prestigious journal, before that I upload my data. So the Mendeley, I generate the DOI and I submit my paper with a DOI. So the he's very confident about the papers that we submit, and all the editor-in-chiefs, right? Sometimes there were 2 occasions that they personally thanked me for providing with the data set. So then they will then they understand that, okay, this guy has done a genuine work, so they give the full priority for publication. It is also important to use the test to do approach in qualitative research, because many of the people around you, right, in the academic landscape might try to argue against your methodology. So you need to defend yourself with the best shields you are having. So the test to do approach is in qualitative research is very much important. So in order to do that, you need to cite from the best journals and the best articles, right? So that's from the presentation part. So let's move into some of the articles that I just shared for you to have an idea. Right. Yeah, in the meantime, I can welcome a couple of questions, maybe 1 or 2 questions, and thereafter I can open up a paper that I did using the NVivo.
Dr. Samaratunga, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. I can hear you. Yeah.
I'm Shashika from the Department of Business Administration.
Yes, madam.
Now, if you take this Sri Lankan context, sometimes people don't express their ideas directly, and sometimes there are hidden meanings. Now, for example, once when I interviewed these operational level workers, one of them mentioned that rolling thamai duwanne. Without telling that the salary is not sufficient, or they take loans, pay them again, take loans, like that, right? So is there any method to capture such ideas?
You mean through the NVivo, or are you asking a general question?
No. Through NVivo, how to capture such type of ideas?
Well, now in such cases, what I would do is that I told you something about memos there. Can you remember earlier? Right? So if there are some hidden meanings, hidden interpretations, and before you forget what they meant, you can quickly open up a memo and write down everything, right? And this is referring to this, right? And then later at the analysis, you can bring up the memo along with all other data. But again, it is best that you give a small annotation at the journal. Okay, roller means what, right? Kind of a small description. Otherwise, our examiners and the reviewers might not know about it. And then I think you can justify it. Because I have seen in some other journal articles, those who are especially talking about the cultural values, norms, because cultures are different from place to place, from country to country, and say that starting from the Tevava, there was a very nice article about the Mameunava Tevava made by another foreign professor, and he was describing each and everything, including the yakberry to the gataberry, and because we are not familiar with these things, I mean, the foreign international readers. So best that you open up a memo, explain it there, right, and relate it to the main analysis, but still provide a small annotation at the end of the respective page.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, madam. Right. I hope you can. I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes, we can see. Yes, we can see.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor. So this is an article that we published with the Tourism Management Perspective Journal, and I just wanted to take you through the methodology section that we used here. Now, collecting and now here we have spent like here 1 page, almost 2 pages, like one and a half, and 3/4. Yeah, and here again 1/2. It's it's almost like 3 pages we have used to defend our methodology, because the data source being kind of novel to that particular journal, because it's a very conventional and a prestigious journal, and they are really concerned about the reliability and the validity of the data. So now here we were using the TripAdvisor data to capture the change of the tourist gaze since the end of the war and up to 2020. So we were basically, and I was abroad, and I've been to Jaffna many times, but I really wanted to publish one paper before my the second review came. So we collected the TripAdvisor data, but we justified why we collected TripAdvisor, and we compared why we also happen to explain the other travel review websites available in the world, and why we selected TripAdvisor, because it has so many millions of users and blah blah, and how many scholars or well-recognized scholars have used the TripAdvisor data. So this is the entire, the first 2 paragraphs of the methodology section is attributed to the justification of my data, right? But it really worked because they never question about the use of the data. And thereafter we come to the data sources, why I selected this 13 different destinations. We happen to justify, right? And what under what basis we used it. And again, yes, it was accepted right away. I mean, the methodology and the destinations. And thereafter we right, and we use the purposive sampling again to select the reviews, right? Because when it comes to the TripAdvisor reviews, there are like hundreds and the thousands of it, but we wanted to limit it. We selected May 2018 to December 2018 as a focus time period to identify the most recent tourist gaze. We have to justify that as well. And the why purposive sampling again, right? And we happen to justify with using of that. And the thematic analysis, I told you we employed the thematic analysis. We introduced the thematic analysis and how it need to be done properly with the support of the previous literature, especially the Strauss and the Corbyn's grounded theory, the approaches, the 1994 version of it. And how many open codes we develop, how many free codes we develop, right? Everything is clearly mentioned here for the reviewers. And then we happen to show the respondents' demographic data, the gender, and the frequency and the percentages, how many. There were only 173 respondents. And again, the coding spectrum here, the word that I forgot earlier, it is known as the coding spectrum. I will try to rotate. Where's the rotate function? Yeah, here, this is the same slide that I showed you earlier. The themes and the focus codes and the free codes. I told you we began with the free codes, and thereafter we happened to combine them together to make the focus codes. And again, we combined the focus codes to develop the themes. But remember, everything was done with the support of the tourist gaze theory, right? Theory has been always there, and we just wanted to prove that tourist gaze is not a stagnated, rather it is changing over the time. Yeah, and then we here the results and the findings, the thematic analysis, the key areas we discuss with the support of the direct quotations, and then we come to the discussion and conclusion. But I want to highlight this part. So this is my graphical abstract. We call it the graphical abstract. Now here we try to prove that earlier at the end of the war, at the beginning of the after-war phase, we just had the dark tourist gaze, whereas the tourists went to the Jaffna and all these post-war areas just to view, to see the war remnants, right? Whatever the left out of the war, the bullet-ridden walls and the topless Palmyra trees to the LTT bunkers to the army, all the statues, all the blah blah, and they were well protected and promoted during the first part of the 2010 decade. And thereafter, over the time, the government identified, okay, it will not help with the reconciliation process, because I hope you can remember, we had the Commonwealth meeting happened here in Sri Lanka, and the present president, the Charles, came down here, and we happened to chop the Farah ship, which was in Maldives, remember, right? And all these things were removed later on, and because the Prince Charles, he scheduled a visit to. We have the environmental and the cultural case. Many of the people are now not talking about the war that we faced and the suffered, but they like to go to the Nallur, they like to go to the Rio ice to enjoy the Rio ice cream, or enjoy like the big buffet at the Valampuri restaurant, right? Or maybe at the Lakshmi restaurants. So that is the environmental and the cultural gaze we wanted to postulate. So this is the theoretical contribution we made. So tourist gaze is not stagnated, but it is rather changing. And the other paper, if you have any questions about that paper, yes, I'm more than happy to answer. In the meantime, I'll open a second paper. Right, I'm going to open my second paper about the tourist gaze and beyond. I told you in my PhD dissertation, my main theory, the main theory I implemented was the tourist gaze, which is about visual consumption of a destination. So actually, I started writing this paper after submitting my thesis, and I had like a 1.5 months kind of a free time. And people mostly travel during that time, but I faced the high winters and I didn't really want to go out. And I was at the peak of my academic maturity after completing the dissertation. So I just phoned my professor, said, okay, shall I write another paper? And he was more than happy with that, of course. And then I just took my literature review paper section, which came in like 100 different pages, 100 pages. I just took it, and then I looked back at my NVivo workstation, because I have nicely categorized each and every or different segments of the tourist gaze, and I put them into writing. And here you can see the introduction and the methodology. And I will tell you the main section, the conceptual underpinning and the tourism application of the gaze, because the gaze theory does not come, or it is not originated in the tourism or the management, but it's a kind of a medical thing, right? We call it the medical gaze. The Foucault is a kind of he's a French philosopher, and he introduced the doctor's gaze, medical gaze, and later on it was converted into tourist gaze in way back early 1990s. So we were talking about the historical development, and then the evolving conceptualization and the application of the gaze, under which we discuss about the fragmented conception in gaze, or in what else disciplines or tourism sections or tourism typologies that the concept of gaze has been used. Yeah, and thereafter there's a table 1. In the table 1, we were able to justify where it has been used in different contexts: zoological gaze, male gaze, local gaze, second gaze, sexual gaze, family gaze, museum gaze. And yeah, there's one of my gaze, transitional tourist gaze, that is the one we introduced to the gaze theory. So everything has been closely studied. We also, in our literature review paper, we discuss about the review of the methodology used, and we went through all these 100 different articles and identified now like 99% of the journal articles we read were done with the quantitative methods, and just 1% like 99% with the qualitative methods and 1% with the quantitative method. So we were discussing about all these key methods, right? Which methods have been used and what are the gaps in there. And thereafter, we did not forget to discuss about the critiques and the debates and the evolution of the tourist gaze. It was really easy because in our NVivo platform, we had a clear node by the name of debates. So we directly took everything from there, right, with the sources and the descriptions, everything was there. So it was all about, finally, it was all about organizing and putting them into a rational and the logical form. So this nice paper came up, and finally we showed the research directions with the data that I already had at hand. The Foucault started with the power gaze, and later on it moved into tourist gaze in 1990, and thereafter there were like 4 branches of gaze, starting from the second gaze, third gaze, McConnell said it, and the tourist gaze, performing, local gaze, host gaze, and the immediate gaze, GoPro gaze. This is with the technology, so on and so forth. So the paper came very nice, and it was very easy to do. Actually, I completed this paper like within 1.5 weeks, right? And within 1 month time, we submitted it for the review, right? It was the fastest paper that I completed. 1 month time to SSCI journal, and like 4 months later, 5 months later, it got published, I think, after the necessary review processes, right? So they are the basic things I just wanted to share with you. And yeah, now we can discuss if you have any further questions. Yeah, thank you, Professor. There's a question, the reliability and the validity aspects of the paper. Are you referring to the which paper? You mean the literature review paper or the? Right, okay. I'll start with the management perspective TMP paper. Right here. Now, when it comes to the reliability and the validity, the first challenge we forecasted was the reliability of the data sources. So that's why I said the first 2 paragraphs of my methodology happen to be attributed to the to justify how the use of the TripAdvisor data, and we happen to cite some prominent researchers who have used the TripAdvisor data for their analysis as their data sources. That is number 1. Number 2, when it comes to the reliability of the destinations we have selected here, it say to identify the most popular destinations in Jaffna, 3 in-depth interviews were conducted with tourism experts in Sri Lanka, a senior tourism scholar, senior officer at the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, and a senior hotelier and an entrepreneur of Jaffna. The validity of the selected destinations was cross-checked using the top attractions in Jaffna. So here we are moving into the triangulation method. So in this paper also we use the triangulation method, and thereafter we use another method here. Yeah, we use the cross-coding actually. Give me a second to find it. Right. Now here it is also important to, we wanted to show, now this is a complex scenario. We are talking about the post-war glitches and the socio-economic reconstruction. So we happen to use the interpretivism research paradigm, because if a foreign scholar say a foreign scholar conducts this particular research, and he definitely would not be able to catch some deep the complex areas of the 3 decades long war in Sri Lanka. So here we introduced ourselves as the first and third authors are Sinhalese Buddhists from the southern part of Sri Lanka, and have first-hand experience of the Sri Lankan war and its aftermath. The second author is a renowned tourism anthropologist who has been to Jaffna several times for the research paper. So this is also a plus point for our research. And again, there's the coding. We actually, I cannot remember where I have written it. We have used the cross-coding method. So it was not only me who did the coding. I completed my coding, and thereafter I invited my co-authors to do the recoding and however, before that I sufficiently explained that what I looked at in this particular data set, and I explained how I wanted to look my particular open codes and the category developments and the main themes, right? With that understanding, only the second coder came into the coding process, and then he did the coding, and then we started comparing our coding hierarchies to identify that it was like 80% kind of same, but there were like 20% differences, but we ironed it out, and thereafter we processed it. The cross coding is mentioned somewhere. Here, right? The two researchers collaborated to ensure no important facts are missed, and cross-coding was performed to increase the validity and the reliability of the results as recommended by the Boatists and the Stross and Corbin. Right. And then importantly, when it comes to the validity of the findings, sorry, the reliability of the findings, I told you we need to take our discussion into the international level, because now we were not trying to just provide a case study from the Sri Lankan context, but we were trying to fill an important theoretical gap in the gaze literature. So anyone should be able to apply our methodology in different kind of, anyone should be able to apply our methodology in similar contexts and to check whether similar results were coming. But still, we wanted to generalize our findings into the theory. So when talking about the theoretical gap, we happen to discuss it with some related major disastrous events in the world, including the Auschwitz event in sorry, I just slipped it. Yeah, here. The Auschwitz in Germany, and the Ground Zero in New York, and the Buchenwald concentration camp in Germany, and the Fort Siloso in Singapore, and the Chu Chu tunnels in Vietnam are some of the examples. And during the discussion, we were referring to the similar gases and the different gases in comparative terms, and the reviewers really liked it, and even they suggested me to add the South African case. Africa, sorry, Gandhi. Can I just find it? Right, because now we also related our discussions with some South African cases where in South Africa, after the independence, they removed the Gandhi statue from the University of Ghana. And here in Sri Lanka, we removed all the statues, including the Prabhakarans, and including the whoever the other guy, the Thilipan Memorial, right? So then the reviewers and the examiners get to understand that this paper is done with an international tone, with international understanding. So it increased the validity, both validity and the reliability of the paper. And when talking generally about the validity and reliability, it's a separate, like 1 hour discussion. There are 10 different methods actually that I have collected. We can discuss it maybe at a later time. Thank you, sir. Right. I think now we can conclude the session. I got another meeting at 11 o'clock. I need to get ready for that. What is this coming? Right. What about internal? Are you referring to the other Sri Lankan cases here, sir? Data itself. Now there were not. Now we were referring to the TripAdvisor data, and now the question comes to me directly. I'm replying to that raised by one of your professors, I think, and. When it comes to the qualitative research, we cannot assure that they are inconsistent or in line, because now this is a complex scenario where people happen to come up with their emotions and the feelings, but we wanted to mainly identify what the tourists are looking at, and 173 reviews were selected based on their experience, and we usually look at the richness of the content and the number of words in it. We had no other exclusion criteria. Actually, the other exclusion criteria we maintained was that the review must have done by a local tourist, right, not the British, and they must have done in between 2 different months, like in 2018 from February to the December. So sometimes there were inconsistencies between the data. However, we were mainly looking at the attractions in Jaffna and the removal of the attractions, war attractions, the natural attractions, right? And we avoided all other data which were not supported in our study. And we believe it is the researchers' right. Yeah. Thank you, sir. So that's why I said at the very beginning, it is our study, our methodology, and it totally depend on how well you justify your methodology, right? So I think we can do that. Right. So if there are no other questions, I think I can conclude. Okay, we can. Anything coming up?
Yes, sir, I think that's all.
Right. Thank you very much, Anurudhika. So we'll come to the conclusion. When in comparative terms, we are kind of lagged behind in a development of the qualitative research methods and the research papers, or even the research in the undergraduate, postgraduate, and the PhD levels. We really need to motivate our management, undergraduate and the postgraduate and the doctoral students towards touching up some key areas on the qualitative research, because the true data, true findings, true contributions to the theory can be uncovered, as I believe, only through the qualitative research. And later on, we can use the EFA, we can use the CFA, then we can quantify, and then we can provide some more concrete findings, right? So when doing so, when we are driving, when we are swimming against the conventional methodologies and the analysis, one of the boosting efforts is the NVivo. The software is really cool and nice, and it has very comprehensive features. And today we just discussed only a few of it, right? I told you this the comprehensive program is a 2-day program, and I have been to Jayawardenapura like many times at different faculties to discuss about the use of the NVivo, including the PIM, and I look forward to work with you as well, right? Maybe as a co-author, or maybe supervising some of the students. You can reach me through my email address, manoj.svsl@gmail.com, or the manoj.thm@mgt.rjt.ac.lk. And thank you very much for the invitation, and I must appreciate Guy Naini for inviting me for the session, and the Department of Business Administration and the faculty and all the relevant officers, heads, and the dean, and thank you very much, the professors. You were so kind to listen to my session, and thank you very much for your nice contribution and attention, and have a nice day.